I sat at my desk on Wednesday morning, sorting through paperwork from the previous day's shift. As the day shift captain of Precinct 7 in the local police department, I typically spent most of my time in the office, but occasionally dealt with sticky or unusual situations in the field. At 40 years old, I prided myself on being in great shape. My train of thought was interrupted by a call from Barry Carson, my close friend and neighbor, along with his wife Beth. Barry and Beth, as well as my wife, had been friends since high school. They had something important to discuss involving Ann, and we arranged to meet for lunch so Barry could explain further. I first met Ann during my sophomore year in college, sitting beside her in psychology class. Despite not being considered conventionally attractive due to her weight, I saw her inner beauty and admired her resilience in the face of self-esteem issues stemming from past experiences of bullying in high school. Despite initial misunderstandings, I asked Ann to be my date for the fraternity prom, and she agreed after realizing my sincerity. That night, she transformed herself, and I found her stunning. Though I had to intervene in a bar altercation later in the evening, defending Ann's honor, my friends came to appreciate her cool demeanor. We may have seemed like an odd couple, given my athletic build and focus on a career in law enforcement, contrasted with Ann's initial struggles with weight and self-image. However, after a few dates, she expressed a desire to join me in working out and adopting a healthier lifestyle, determined to shed the extra weight. 6 months later, her transformation was astonishing. She had become a strikingly beautiful woman. A year later, she could have easily competed in the Miss America pageant. Meanwhile, our love deepened. We tied the knot shortly after graduating. I landed a job with the police department while she pursued a career teaching elementary school. Our marriage has stood strong for 18 years. And is one of those women who age gracefully. At 40, she could easily pass for someone in her 20s. I consider myself fortunate to have such an attractive and skilled partner in bed. She exudes sensuality and knows how to satisfy me. With our teenage daughter, Erin, at home, we need to be discreet during intimate moments. We tend to get quite vocal, and the bed tends to move around. It's no secret that Ann is my everything, and I love her deeply. During lunch with Barry at Hamburger Dawn, he recounted a conversation he overheard between Beth and Ann. "Doug, remember I mentioned Freddie Firehose Tucker from our high school days?" Barry asked. "Yeah, everyone knew him as Firehose because of his impressive physique," I replied. "Not just impressive, but downright enormous. It was like something out of a movie," Barry said. "What's this got to do with what you're telling me?" I inquired. Firehose always had the attention of the girls in our school, including Beth. She admitted to me that she had been with him once, Barry revealed. "Did she say anything about it?" I asked. "No, and I didn't press further," Barry replied. "I've heard and mentioned him before, but she was never involved with him," I mentioned. "No, she wasn't, Doug. I don't want to be harsh, but he wouldn't have given her the time of day because of her appearance. You know, being overweight. Firehose would mock her in front of everyone. I'm sure Ann felt excluded, as every girl in school desired Firehose," Barry explained. Reflecting on Ann's high school experiences, I realized she had faced challenges in the dating scene. I doubt she ever went on a date, but she rarely discusses it. "Doug, I overheard Ann and Beth chatting last night. You know, our big reunion is coming up Friday night at the Marriott. They didn't realize I could hear them from the back porch. They were discussing the reunion and how much they were looking forward to it," Barry said. "Yes, and is really excited. She didn't attend the previous one you had, and she can't wait for everyone to see how she's changed. Unfortunately, I might not arrive until late. I have to cover part of a shift," I replied. "Well, you might want to get there as quickly as possible after what I heard. Apparently, Ann received a call from Firehose Tucker yesterday. He heard about her transformation and wants to see if he can get her to his room Friday night. I also found out what Beth thought of him," Barry revealed. "What do you mean, Barry?" I inquired. Beth told Ann about his monster cock and how amazing it was. She only had one encounter with him, but she's never seen anything like it. "Made me feel pretty good," Barry said. "So, what did Ann say?" I asked. She asked a lot of questions about his size. Was it really that big? She told Beth that Freddie had called her, wondering if they could sneak away from the party for a bit. He was sure she was curious about the rumors. They laughed about it, but then Beth sort of whispered to Ann to think about it. And laughed and said she loves you too much, you're all she needs, Barry recounted. Do you think she was seriously considering it, Barry? I questioned. I'll tell you one thing. Firehouse does have a reputation with the ladies. He's not married, I know that. He apparently has no problem being involved with married women from what I hear, Barry replied. What do you think I should do? I asked. I'm sure it's nothing, Doug. I just wanted you to be aware that Freddie Firehose Tucker is in town and he's after your wife. Ann and Beth are both loyal wives, and neither would likely cheat. Just the same, keep an eye on things and try to get there as soon as you can, Barry advised. Was that it, Barry? I inquired. I didn't catch everything, but what I heard seemed a little suspicious, Barry replied. That night after dinner, I asked Ann who would be attending their reunion. I think almost the entire class is coming. It'll be great to see some of them. I'm sure they'll be surprised to see how much I've changed, and said. I'm sure all the guys will be vying for your attention. You'll definitely be the most beautiful woman there, I commented. Well, Doug Murphy, are you going to be jealous of your wife flirting with all her old classmates? She teased. I nervously chuckled. I heard Freddie Firehose Tucker is going to be there, she added. Who is Freddie Firehose Tucker? I asked, trying to hide my emotions. He thinks he's God's gift to women. His nickname, Firehose, comes from the fact that he has this enormous cock, or so I hear, and explained. Did you ever have the opportunity to, I trailed off, feeling uneasy. Now, Doug, you know I was overweight and unattractive in high school. Freddie only pursued the attractive girls. He never showed any interest in me. In fact, he often made fun of me and called me names because of my weight, and said, her eyes welling up with tears. I gave her a hug and said, well, wait until he sees you now. He will be all over you. I hope I don't have to worry about your curiosity about something you couldn't have before. I said. She laughed and said, honey, I love you so much. Why would I want to risk that for a roll in the hay with a guy with a huge dick? Yes, I thought, you would be risking a lot if you got caught. Let's hope your curiosity does not get the best of you. I will not tolerate a cheating wife. I didn't answer her question, but replied, and I am really sorry I am going to be late to your party Friday night. You know I will get there as soon as I can. I have to cover for Bill until 9 o'clock because of an important meeting he has to attend. I was not given a choice in the matter, I said. It's okay, baby. I will ride with Beth and Barry, then come home with you. That will give me a chance to flirt with all the guys while you're not there. You take your time, I will be in good hands, she said. She saw the look on my face, then said, I'm only kidding, sweetheart. I believe you think I'm going to jump in bed with one of the guys the first chance I get. I have all the man I could ever want in you, and don't you forget it. I smiled, but wasn't convinced. I smelled something fishy, and wasn't sure what to do about it. All I knew was that if Ann and Firehose snuck off to her room during the reunion, there would be hell to pay. Since Ann was still on summer vacation, she did not have to go to work. Thursday after lunch, one of the plainclothes detectives knocked on my office door. He explained that he had finished lunch at this restaurant and was leaving when he saw Ann and some guy waiting to be seated. She didn't recognize him, but he recognized her. He tried to listen to their conversation, but all he got was the guy's first name. It was Freddie. He told me he left as they were being taken to a table. That woman. Is she lying to me? Why would she be meeting Freddie for lunch? Maybe a little pre-party planning, or maybe an afternoon delight as a sample. I was upset all afternoon. At 4 o'clock, I was told I could leave a little early because I was working later tomorrow night, so I went straight home. And was not home when I got there. There was a call from the Marriott for Ann. They told me to tell her that they were able to get her a room for Friday night. When she first called on Wednesday, they were full, but then had a cancellation. She never said anything to me about trying to get a room. She came home an hour later. She had a few bags and said she had been shopping. I didn't confront her about lunch or the room, and she said nothing. I was pretty quiet the rest of the night. She was preoccupied with reunion plans. She went next door to see Beth, no doubt to figure out how to get in bed with Firehose. I was already in bed when she walked out of the bathroom wearing a new dress. What do you think, Doug? I bought this dress today for the reunion. Since you won't be here when I leave tomorrow night, I wanted you to see it on me. She looked incredible. It was a slinky, tight-fitting dress that showed off her great body. I didn't know what to say. Did she do this for me or for Firehose? You look fantastic, and your classmates are in for a shock when they see you. As I said earlier, I bet the guys will be all over you. Thanks, honey. A lot of good it will do them. I do want to look good, though. It is important to me. I had absolutely no self-esteem in high school. I feel really good about myself now, and I know I have you to thank for it, she said warmly. She walked over, unzipped her dress, and let it fall to the floor. She had nothing on underneath. I got excited. She was clearly aroused. She gave me an amazing experience before we engaged in intimate activities. I'm sure Erin heard her climax. She allowed me some rest before reinvigorating me, and we made love again. In the back of my mind, though, I couldn't shake the image of someone else being with her. The next evening at work was nerve-wracking. I was eager to leave and get to the party. I brought my clothes with me to change quickly. I needed to be there to see if anything happened. If I didn't arrive until after 9 o'clock, there was plenty of time for and to meet with Firehose. And Beth and Barry were scheduled to arrive at 6:30. I had called Barry earlier and asked him to keep an eye on Ann. I told him to let me know if he noticed anything suspicious. He assured me he would watch her closely. As luck would have it, Bill's meeting ended early, and he relieved me at 8 o'clock. I changed and made it to the Marriott around 8:30. I searched the banquet hall for her, and Barry hadn't called, so I assumed she was around. I couldn't find her. Finally, I saw Barry chatting with a group of guys. He seemed intoxicated. Barry, have you seen Ann? I asked. Hey, Doug. How are you? Glad you made it. It's a great party. Can I get you a drink, old buddy? He slurred. No, Barry. Have you seen Ann? You were supposed to keep an eye on her, I reminded him. Oh yeah, I saw her earlier, but not recently. The last time I saw her, she was talking to Freddie. Oh. Come to think of it, I haven't seen either of them in a while. I'm sure she's around here somewhere, Doug. She's probably with Beth, although I haven't seen Beth either. Don't worry, she's probably in the bathroom with Beth, he assured me before returning to his drink and friends. I walked around and overheard 2 drunk men talking in the hall. I think old Firehose is already having some luck. I saw him take a good-looking girl into that room over there. He must have gotten a nearby room for convenience, one said. Yep, Firehose can have any woman he wants with his credentials, the other chuckled. They walked away, leaving me with a sinking feeling. I walked over to the room they indicated and noticed the door was partially open and unlocked. It seemed they were careless in their rush to get inside. Barry approached quietly behind me, and I gestured for him to remain silent. I gently pushed the door open and peeked inside. There was a man lying on the bed while a woman rode him vigorously. It seemed to be Firehose, given the size of his member, and the woman resembled, and although I couldn't see her face. I stepped back, looking at Barry, feeling nauseous. I informed him it was Firehose and the woman looked like Ann, though I couldn't confirm. What are you going to do, Doug? Barry asked. I'm going in there, and it won't be pretty. Stay here, I don't want you to see Ann like this, I replied. Okay, but call out if you need me, he said. Yeah, right, I thought to myself, you might need to call an ambulance for Firehose, though. I took a deep breath, backed up, and kicked the door as hard as I could with my shoe. The loud sound startled them. I barged in, shouting, "You cheating whore!" She quickly got off him and covered herself with a sheet. Firehose stood up, looking confused. He had no idea who I was. He was still aroused, and his size was astonishing. I was speechless. "You must be Firehose Tucker," I managed to say. He nodded silently. I turned to confront Ann, but it wasn't her, it was Beth. I had caught Beth in the act with Firehose. She was crying and begging me not to tell Barry. I hadn't realized how much Beth and Ann looked alike from behind. Meanwhile, the commotion had drawn a crowd to the door. Barry announced to the crowd that I had caught my wife and with Firehose Tucker. Someone urged Barry to go inside and see for himself. He entered and confronted Beth, shocked by what he saw. "Beth, what the hell? You were with this freak?" Barry exclaimed. Everyone in the room stared at Firehose in disbelief. Meanwhile, Ann entered the room and saw Beth crying on the bed. "Beth, what were you?" Ann began, but she stopped short when she saw Firehose. He stood there confidently, with no attempt to cover up. Ann expressed her shock at his appearance and turned her attention back to Beth, questioning her actions. Then she turned to me. "Doug, what are you doing here? I heard you broke the door down. Did you think I was in here?" Ann asked. "Yes, honey, I'm sorry to say I did. I thought maybe you were upset about how things went with Firehose in high school, and maybe you wanted to try things out with him now," I confessed. Ann smiled at me and said, "Baby, we need to talk. Come with me. I've seen enough of that monster dick for a lifetime." She revealed that she had rented the room as a surprise for us. We would party at the reunion and then spend the night together in the room. She had arranged for Aaron to stay with a friend, so we wouldn't have to worry about driving home. As we sat on the bed, Ann encouraged me to share my thoughts. "Okay, my confused but wonderful husband, tell me everything," she said. I explained how Barry had called me on Wednesday, mentioning he overheard our conversation about Freddie. And held my hand as she clarified, Barry must have misunderstood. I was just joking with Beth about Freddie. I made it clear to him that I'm happily married and not interested in him. "Weren't you curious about the rumors about him?" I asked. And shook her head. "Who cares about that? It's not about the size of a man's member, it's about the man himself. And you, my love, are everything I could ever want," she assured me. "One of my detectives saw you and Freddie at a restaurant on Thursday," I continued. "Honey, I was meeting some girlfriends from school. Freddie just happened to be there early, but I made sure to sit away from him. Beth was there too," and explained. "Who invited him?" I inquired. "I think it was Beth. She might have been interested in him and mused. But I was with Sarah Jenkins later, looking at old yearbooks in her room. I didn't want to see myself, but it was interesting to see how people have changed. I thought you were with Freddie because I couldn't find you when I arrived," I admitted. "But now I understand why you rented the room. I'm sorry for doubting you. I love you so much, and the idea of you being with Firehose made me insecure. Please forgive me. If anything, it just shows how much you care about me. I understand how you might have misinterpreted things. Maybe Barry should have been more attentive, like you," she reassured me. "I should have just talked to you about it instead of jumping to conclusions. I guess I let those stories influence me," I admitted. She chuckled and pulled me into a warm hug and a kiss. "Let me remind you of something, Doug. Remember when we first met? I was overweight and not seen as attractive." "No, you were overweight, but still very attractive," I corrected her. "That's my point. You saw the real me beyond the weight. You asked me out when nobody else saw me as desirable. You've been with me through thick and thin, quite literally. I owe you everything, darling. I wouldn't be where I am today without you. Freddie never did what you did. Nobody from my class did. You believed in me, and now I'm married to the most incredible man. Nobody could ever replace you," she expressed sincerely. I embraced her tightly, overwhelmed with love for this woman. Now that we've cleared that up, there are 2 reasons I wanted to come tonight. Firstly, to show everyone how much I've changed. It's amusing how those who mocked me in high school are now overweight and unattractive. And the second reason? I inquired. The second reason was to showcase my amazing husband. Not only are you handsome, but you're also a highly decorated first responder. I'm so proud of you, honey, and I want to introduce you to everyone, she said proudly. Offering my arm, I said, I'd be honored to accompany you, my dear. Before we go, I have one more surprise for you, she teased. She lifted her dress to reveal a pair of thong panties. She playfully shook her behind, leaving me aroused. I reached out to grab her, but she wagged her finger. Not yet, Thunderstick. We have a party to enjoy first, she teased. Thunderstick? I questioned. Yep, that's my new nickname for your friend down there. No need for a fire hose when I've got Thunderstick, she quipped. Well, Thunderstick is definitely excited after seeing you in that thong, I remarked. Don't worry, Thunderstick will have his moment later. Right now, let's go show off my incredible husband, she said with a grin. We returned to the party, enjoying drinks, dancing, and mingling with her classmates. We didn't come across Barry and Beth or even Freddie for the rest of the night. When the music stopped at midnight, we made our way back to our room. In a hushed tone as we exited the banquet room, she whispered, You can start getting excited now. I want Thunderstick to be ready, willing, and able as soon as we're in our room. Needless to say, he was more than ready in the elevator. If it weren't for the other couple sharing the ride, she might have indulged right there. As for what happened in that room, I'll leave it to your imagination. But I can say it was one of the most memorable nights of passion we've ever had. The combination of alcohol, the events of the evening, and our love for each other made it truly special. Let's just say, we were both feeling it the next morning. As for Beth and Barry, their relationship suffered greatly after Barry caught Beth with fire hose. Barry's confidence was shattered, feeling he could never measure up. Despite attempts at counseling, they couldn't overcome the damage. It was a sad situation for both of them. Eventually, Barry filed for divorce and moved away, unable to face the community. Beth remains our neighbor, but the friendship with it has understandably changed. Word spread about Beth and Freddie, making most men hesitant to pursue her. She doesn't date much, as no man could feel confident following Firehose. As for Firehose himself, we never heard from or saw him again. It's unclear what became of him, but he and Beth never crossed paths after that incident. As for Ann and me, we're doing wonderfully. Her playful request to let Thunderstick come out to play has become a favorite bedtime ritual. And of course, he always does. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Write your opinion in the comments.